Greetings to the Mountain Cog podcast audience. I hope you're having a great day. What we're about to delve into here is part 2 of our 2-part series with the OG BMX professional rider, Dusty Horton. And in the first episode, which we very much enjoyed and hope you did too, we got into Dusty's background in BMX, the cool bikes that he's riding these days, some cool new bike companies. We learn about the 22, have lots of jokes, fun stories. Got to know Dusty a little bit, and it was a really fun episode. We definitely enjoyed recording it. Hope you enjoyed it as well. In this second part, we delve into some more serious content. And that content really is Dusty shares with us his mental health journey. And so there's a warning that comes along with that. This podcast does include a discussion of suicide with the intention of aiming to help promote understanding and support. However, it can be sensitive for some listeners. So if suicide is a topic that is sensitive to you or anyone that's in earshot of this podcast, suggest that maybe you don't listen to this podcast. And if you need help, or if you're thinking about suicide, it's not the right answer. There's plenty of options to get help. One of the key ones is you can contact, if you're in the United States, a crisis hotline, and all you have to do is either call or text 988. Once again, call or text 988. Suicide's not the answer. Please reach out and get the help that you need by calling or texting 988 if you're having those thoughts. And we'll go ahead and dive into this part 2, and we're going to learn all about Dusty's mental health journey, which is quite interesting and quite inspiring. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you're having a great day. We're going to calm down on the jokes here and let us tell you, or let us listen to your story.
Yeah, backstory.
Sure.
What are we at time-wise?
So we're about 50 minutes, but we usually go about an hour, but we can go as long as you're comfortable.
We're at 50?
50.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, I'd like to talk a little bit about my history just as it relates to cycling and how...
We're not in any hurry, man. Just take your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In whatever way I can that would hopefully
help some other people.
Yeah. Provide some hope, really.
Yeah.
Ideally to some other people. And so, just in the interest of that, a little bit more candid history and kind of where I came from and how I ended up in Tucson and how I ended up riding bicycles in the first place. And just sort of, I've had a pretty transformational last year. Yeah. And I'd like to talk a lot about that kind of journey and shift for me, which has really put me into a space that I hope everybody who goes through anything like I've gone through can feel someday
get into.
Too.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, please.
So I grew up, as we talked about, in Milwaukee, and I want to be clear. I'm going to talk about things that happened like in my family, but there's no blame. This is just stuff that occurred. And to be super clear, like I don't hold any of these people.
You don't hold any grudges.
Yeah. I don't thankfully have been able to work through a lot of that stuff. And yeah. But, I grew up, let me back up. So my parents met in rehab, didn't date. My mom wanted a child, didn't want anybody involved. Finds a cute guy in rehab, sleeps with him, doesn't tell him he's pregnant. He finds out later, tries to be involved. She cuts him out.
Okay.
So I grew up just with a mom and the understanding that things just didn't work out with my dad. And so that's why you just have a mom. Right. And so
you had no relationship with your dad growing up at that point?
No relationship.
And didn't know that he had tried to be involved and wasn't allowed to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's how I grew up. And so, your normal is your normal.
Right.
Right. And so I grew up with just a mom and what I felt like was a relatively loving family, like a grandmother who cared for me and a grandfather and aunts and uncles and cousins and all this stuff. And,
Nice.
felt relatively grateful for my situation. But what I didn't realize is that my mom, who was drinking, in and out of rehab and drank for the first 5 years of my life, wasn't physically or emotionally available to me at times, especially early
childhood.
Times when you needed it.
Exactly. And so what I realized through the years is like, oh, that set me on this path of like figuring out that I need to get connection, the way that I can generate attention from my mom is by excelling. And that's, what it took me a few years to figure that out. But like by third, fourth grade, I was a straight A student all the way through high school.
Oh, wow.
And that was just how I knew to operate, because that was effective. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And so that sort of set the standard for like how you operate. And I had a grandmother who was very OCD. So like you clean things a certain way, and you wash the floors on Tuesday and you wash the windows on Thursday, and
So is my office driving you crazy right now?
Not at all. No, like I thankfully like the stuff everywhere was never a problem for me. It was like how you clean things was important. Like how you, exactly. And so for whatever reason, right? Like these things that you pick up from childhood, right? And so I had this essentially idea or belief. I mean, really belief is like core belief, sort of even beyond consciousness, right? Like a subconscious belief that to be worthy, to get the connection, the attention that I needed,
you need to excel.
I got to perform, right? And so, and
is that a perfectionist kind of outcome then?
part of it? Yeah, for sure.
It's the opposite of what you and I have. I'm sorry, I gotta stop.
No, jokes is great, man. Some of this stuff is heavy, so it's important to have balance for sure, right? And that's if there's anything I've learned that I want to impress upon anybody, it's balance, for sure. So yeah, and so in that, like growing up in this environment with in suburban white America in the Midwest with a middle class household, and you had every toy that you wanted. And, I got a Nintendo on my 10th birthday and a 13-inch TV for my bedroom.
Nice.
It was so sweet.
Yes.
Living the dream. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I didn't have like a parent who was emotionally available. Right. And so you're living in this life that
stuff
people all over the world idolize, and you're miserable and you don't know it. Right.
It's your normal.
That's my normal. Right. And so and the other thing is I was always, and this is probably related to that, rambunctious, like bouncing off the walls, energy everywhere.
Like ADHD style.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't.
They've given it a name. It used to be childhood. Now they call it ADHD.
Yeah, childhood.
Yeah. I didn't get diagnosed, but maybe I was too.
It wasn't a thing back then.
Too old.
Right.
But
rambunctious. That was a word.
Rambunctious for sure.
Yeah.
So by 5, and my mom actually grew up. She was a gymnast and a diver. And so she threw me into gymnastics at 5 years old.
Cool.
She's like, you're jumping off the couch and landing on your head. You need to learn how to crash. So she throws me into gymnastics. And
That's cool.
Yeah,
so from 5 to 12, I did gymnastics. And as a gymnast, right? Because now you give me an identity and I need to perform.
7 years.
Right.
Got
and
good,
so
didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to state and regionals, and you're competing and you're doing all this stuff, right?
That's a heavy lift.
I mean, it's at the end of it, by 12, it was 5 days a week, 5 nights a week. You're in the gym. Right.
Yeah.
At 12. Right.
Yeah.
And so I had this weird genetic knee disease called Osgood-Schlatter's, and growth spurt. And so when I was going through puberty, I couldn't do gymnastics anymore. And the doctor said, you know what, you should ride a bicycle. Bicycle would be really good for you.
Almost therapeutic.
Yeah, it'd be therapeutic, right? You can't do gymnastics anymore,
exercise.
but you should ride a bicycle. And you take a 13-year-old, 12-year-old kid who's a gymnast.
It's used to flying off stuff and doing flips and jumps.
And you put him on a bicycle, right? What do you expect?
Air awareness.
Air awareness. What's going to happen?
Totally.
Wow, what a good combination.
So that's how I got into BMX. I mean, I'd like thought it was cool as a kid. And like I said, was jumping off curbs and stuff. But at that point I was like, oh, this is my new identity. Really, this is my new career, right? At 13, like this is who I'm going to be. I'm going to be a good student and I'm going to ride BMX. Yeah. And thank God for the community, because there was BMX in the early 90s was relatively dead. And there was a community in my suburb of Milwaukee of kids that rode BMX. And without that, like I probably would have been in jail at 17 instead of 27. So like without that, I would have had a much rougher childhood. And so that's what drives me to continue to promote cycling in general.
Bike community.
But specifically, like the action sports communities are so supportive and such a good community. Yeah. And that was where I found really a connection that I just didn't have that at home in the same way.
Yeah.
And so it was like this really rewarding, passion, right? And so it just took off for me. And so I started riding BMX, 12, 13 years old and rode for years. And through that time, really damaged my body. Like, from 13 and I quit. I'm doing air quotes here for the people that can't see. Yeah. I quit riding BMX professionally when I was 24. So I made it from like really 13 to 24 were my good years. And then like my body gave up at that point. So just in that short period of time, I had 3 knee surgeries, 2 ruptured spleens, ruptured kidney, broken back.
Oh, all from
BMX. 2 right ankle surgeries. Well, foot, I shattered my calcaneus, had to have a plate put in.
What the hell's a calcaneus?
Sorry, heel bone.
Okay. You're breaking bones we haven't heard of.
Shattered my heel bone.
So
yeah.
How the hell do you shatter a heel bone? Jesus, tell me about that crash.
So I'm trying to get my keychain here, which is the plate that was in my foot holding my heel bone together.
That was the plate? That's awesome. You still have it.
Yeah.
So you've taken it out.
Love it.
And it's a keychain now. You've taken it out.
I just made it a keychain. I just put it on my key ring.
But that's what was holding just everything in your heel while it was healing?
My heel bone together, yeah. It was
I've
literally
never seen a calcaneus, a titanium calcaneus.
I gotta take a rabbit hole real quick. When I was learning Arabic, I used to chew on guitar picks all the time. Always had a guitar pick in my mouth.
Oh.
And I was taking a listening test, and the listening test started faster than I expected, and it surprised me.
And you swallow the guitar pick.
And I swallowed the guitar pick.
Yep.
So like
this guy.
So like 3 days later, I look down and there's the guitar pick.
Yep. Nice.
And so I'm like, well, I can't just let it.
So you washed it off, and where is it now, Josh?
So I wore it for like a decade. I wore it as a necklace. I don't have it anymore. But
you wore the digested guitar pick.
And I was like, that went through my whole body. Anyway, sorry. It just reminded me of that story. I don't know why, but
I don't know why.
It's something that was in your body that you now have again.
It came out. All right, keep
That's
going.
So
I didn't mean to
No,
take
that's a great story and worth the rabbit hole. So you broke a lot of you did a lot of damage to your body.
A lot of damage.
In 9 years.
Yeah, and I 11 whatever. Yeah,
it's amazing you had time to ride because you were healing half that time.
A lot of the time I was healing. Yeah, and so what I can now look back and say like, why do I do that? Right, and thanks to the work I've done recently in identifying and healing some of this trauma, I can say, if I didn't pull the trick, I wasn't worthy, right? Or somebody wasn't going to love me, or somebody was
the same thing that drove you to get straight A's, the same thing that drove you to clean a specific way,
right?
Drove you on the bike.
Exactly.
Even to the point of bad injuries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and the culture, and this is, in a lot of our culture, and I don't want to like demonize BMX or action sports or anything, but we have this mindset, especially in America, of like tough it out.
Man
right?
Up. Man up.
Yeah.
And so you'd have an injury and you'd have 2 months off because you're doing PT and rehab and all this stuff. And like your friends are like, are you riding soon? And like you push, right? Yeah. And even if like, I remember for years I worked at DK while I was riding for them and had knee surgery while I was working there. And even there, like, and it wasn't them, but it was me. Like they'd get a container of bikes to unload and I'd be hobbling, like, trying to get bikes out of the container with my jacked up knee, like pushing myself because that's what you're supposed to do in my mind, right? That's what I'm thinking is I got to do this or these people won't love me. Right?
Man up, get back on the ice.
Right.
Yep.
And so we have this push, right? To not honor what our body needs, right? We have this push to honor what society wants us to do, or even like these things that we think we need to do.
Yeah.
Which are made up from childhood because we didn't get the shit we needed then. Right. Yeah. And so we're operating often in this, very unconscious way. And so that's what it was like, I just would, if my body would keep moving, I'd try the trick again. And it worked. It was relatively successful. I got sponsored and I certainly wasn't like X Games level pro, but I rode local contests and got paid to ride for DK doing shows and a couple other small companies doing shows.
If you got paid to ride a bike, you were doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I was grateful to have all the opportunities I had for sure. It was, And had my body not sort of really tried to give out then at 24, when I was 24, I had my third knee surgery and carpal tunnel surgery on the same day. And at that point, my orthopedic doctor was like, if you keep doing this, like you're going to have knee replacements when you're 35. And if you quit now, you might make it to 40 before you have your knee replaced, And the mindset then was like, you can't heal this stuff, right? Like you're ruining it and it's screwed forever.
Yeah.
Right. Which thankfully I now know is not the case. And, so
science has advanced since then, right?
A little bit. Right. Yeah. Well, and
just a little.
It's more about even the people recognizing like the body's ability to heal on its own. Right. And that's, you think so much about doctors, right? Like is them getting you the hell out of your own way.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Like they're not healing a bone. They're putting a cast on there so you don't mess with it.
Putting a cast on there so the body can heal it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Stays
right?
in one place.
Yeah. And so what happened for me, I was really grateful to like have those experiences and ride and get to travel. I mean, I like got to see both coasts the same summer, like touring across the country, really incredible times.
That's
and
cool.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, especially DK like did so much for me. Even when I quit riding professionally, DK continued to support me for 15 years, like sending me frames when I needed them or sending me, whatever.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Really,
That's neat.
really incredible team. Yeah. Like I love those guys and to see them still doing well and supporting like Tucson BMX and, there's a lot of love for those guys. So
shout out to the DK.
So
guys.
you were in the van, like, you hear about the pros in the van doing the tours. So you're one of those guys, had the bike and making the tour and the rounds with DK.
Yeah. The biggest, like most well-known tour I went on was, there's a company called Props, in the 90s and 2000s that did BMX videos. And they had a thing that they spoofed road rules from MTV. And they made a thing called Road Fools. They took like 13 guys and put them in a bus. And
is that like King of the, what's the skate one now? King of the Road?
I'm unfamiliar.
All right, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So this was like, just put a bunch of guys in the van and film and so it was like this introduction to like seeing what BMXers look like, not just on the park, but also traveling.
Yeah.
And so they did a continuation of that called Mega Tour. And in that they had like groups of teams go, and then they were like meet up at different places. So I got to be on the first Mega Tour, which was like really amazing. For me at that time, like
that's
it was
really
the
cool.
pinnacle and super awesome. So that was like a really great part of my life, but also was sort of the start of like this continual downhill of like not listening to my body, right? Continuing to let it deteriorate.
Yeah.
And so I was really making a lot of sacrifices to live that life in that way. And not to say that like to live that life, you have to make the sacrifices I made. I was making those because of the trauma that I had. Right.
But I mean, to draw a parallel that our listeners might recognize, we had the Air Awareness podcast and we talked about Gracie and Skander leaving scootering.
Yeah.
And, part of it was just these kids were flying 30 feet in the air. And if they didn't land right on a scooter with, wheels this big,
right.
The boys are both riding BMX now and then they've transitioned very successfully, I think, to BMX. And they're like, oh my God, this is so much easier. I'm like, yeah, you got a 20-inch wheel versus like a 2-inch wheel or a 3-inch wheel. But it was, Grayson was getting hurt, like seriously hurt a lot. And he was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was like, dude, I can't keep doing this to my body. I'm done.
So he stopped, whereas you kept going.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't have that thought.
Yeah.
Right. That thought of like, I should stop. This is hurting my body. And I had a lot of friends like that. And I was like, you guys are idiots. Like BMX
This is
worth
awesome.
it.
I'm on the mega tour.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Whatever ideas you got. So that was, it was also a time where I really just was not listening to my body and quit riding, 2004, when I was 24, 25, something like that. And, took about 4 years off. And my weight when I was riding was probably like, I don't know, 180, 175, something like that, like back then.
Mm-hmm.
And in 4 years I went to 235.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. And you're like, what, 5'11"?
5'10".
5'10"? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to put it in context.
Yeah. So I went, right. Gained,
That's
50,
that's heavy.
yeah, 55 pounds.
From not riding.
Well,
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
and so what happened was when I didn't have riding, right? What I didn't know this then, but I can look back, hindsight.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
Yeah.
I can look back now and see like, oh, I didn't have that outlet. And so the thing I love about BMX and like that I think every cyclist knows is that it's creative, right?
Yeah.
Like even riding a bicycle down the sidewalk is creative, right? And so I didn't have a creative outlet and I didn't have an exercise outlet. And so I'm sitting on the couch eating pizza
Bad combination.
and drinking
Yeah.
because my mind is going crazy. Right. And so I used to demonize the drinking and think like, oh, well, like I got alcoholic parents and so I must be alcoholic and, all these, stories and whatever. And at the end of the day, like my existence was like miserable.
You didn't have an outlet.
Yeah. And so without an outlet and living in this space of just being relatively miserable and like getting heavier and heavier and more uncomfortable and like, for me with bad knees already, bad back,
sucks,
like
it
the
sucks
extra
being
weight,
the extra
like,
weight just kills you.
just awful. So, so it really got to a spot where it was bad. I mean, I ended up in, like I mentioned earlier, jail at 27. So I quit riding at 25 and by 27, DUI and multiple assault charges and, drinking nonsense. Right. And ended up,
Shenanigans.
spending 10 days in Tent City and like a month in Tucson. So it was
Which is not a fun place to be.
no, Tent City. That was not a good experience.
Was it in the summer or the winter?
It was summer.
Oh, God.
I lucked out and was on so many psych meds at the time that they wouldn't let me in general population. So I got put in the infirmary, which actually had like an adjustable bed and air conditioning.
Okay, so,
it was, I got lucky. Yeah. Lucky going to jail. Yeah.
I was in jail, but it was a good.
Yeah.
It was a good jail. It was a good jail.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as the worst jail. Right. Yeah. So
for sure.
Right. Comparison. Anyway. So yeah, just really struggled during that period of time. And eventually like something in my mind said, you have to, well, you know what? It was the losing your license and having to be on a bicycle, that was,
like you didn't have an option. You had to ride a bike.
So I had a bicycle and I was like, wait, I used to ride these things and like do tricks, it's 4 years ago. Right. But like in your mind, 100 years ago,
it was like 100 years ago.
Yeah. 27, whatever I was thinking. Anyway. So I was riding bicycle cause I didn't have a license. And so then I like called up DK and they sent me a 26-inch dirt jumper cause they made dirt jumpers for a couple years.
Cool. Right.
So they sent me a 26-inch dirt jumper and I was like, this is perfect. And I still had my old like contest BMX bike, right? Like I'd never gotten rid of that thing, but it was still in the garage. But I got this dirt jumper and I started riding around, jumping off stairs and stuff like that.
Yep.
And slowly over the next couple of years, now, it's been over a decade, like just kept riding more and more and more and more and more. So I had this experience of getting back on the bike and movement, right? And movement is so key. So just doing that, like really radically changed my life already. I was still struggling with all of this childhood stuff and, years of drinking and all these other things that were going on, but I started to feel a lot better with movement and thankfully like was able to quit drinking for a few years on and off with different modalities. And so that was always helpful. Basically, getting me to a spot where I could function in society again, right? Not ending up in jail.
Netflix has got this new series called Blue Zones. It's 4 1-hour episodes. And I can't remember the guy's name. You can look it up. It's been out for a couple months now, maybe longer. But it looks at, he goes and analyzes where there are populations of centurions. So those are people that have lived to 100 years old, or like high populations of centurions. And like one of the common threads between all of there's 4 different sites. One's in California, one's in Costa Rica, one's in Japan. One's in Italy. And the common thread between all of them is movement.
Totally.
Oh, really?
So I didn't mean to take you off track, but it's like
No, not at all.
there's something about that.
Movement.
Like you have to keep moving your body.
It's one of the most fundamental things for sure at this point. And so I'll get into that in just a second, but the basic premise was like, oh, okay, I can't be static, right? I had this idea that I was so broken, that my body was so broken.
You were done.
I couldn't run.
Sit on the couch, right?
Right.
No movement.
Yeah. I'm walking the dog, once a day and that's it, right? For half a mile or something. And that's, I'm not doing anything else because my body's broken. Right. And it turns out you got to move a broken body to get it to heal. Yep. So that's what happened. And so I had some, really good sort of physical success there, right? Started feeling better in the body, ended up going back to college for a couple of years, pursued a couple degrees, dropped out again, like just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, but I'd worked in IT my whole life on and off, working with computers. And so got a job at Apple, actually, at the local Apple store in Tucson and worked there on and off, for almost 8 years. The problem there was the same problem that I had in BMX, which was the same problem that I had in high school, which was the same problem that I had at home, which is that if you don't perform, you're not worthy. And so it was this intense struggle to compete and to be the best and to win and to do the most sales and to do the fastest repairs and to be the best,
higher
leader.
Higher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I spent 8 years like killing myself and no, I don't blame Apple, right? That's their culture. And I chose to be a part of it. And felt, miserable after 8 years, like didn't know that. I wouldn't have like said it that way, but really was like, just not honoring what I needed for sure. And was thinking like, this is the way you provide value to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is that you kill yourself at your job, right?
Yep. Wait, and you're not supposed to do that? Shit.
So thankfully I, through a long series of events, decided I wanted a more regular schedule and got in with another company. And I did the same thing there. And this is working for a small company, online IT company and had the same drive, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to be a director. I'm going to be whatever. Right. Yeah. And so within, a couple of years, I was senior director of the entire customer success department. Like, half the company reported to me, like, and I was making more money than I've ever made. Like bought a house, had 2 dogs, got a girlfriend. Like my life is everything it should be. I'm successful. I have a senior director title.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to kill myself still. Right.
Yeah.
Which is, and I haven't mentioned that this session, and I shouldn't have,
Just dropped it on us like that.
said that out of the blue because somebody else listening, it's a serious topic.
Yeah, for sure.
And I should have mentioned, like, that's been part of my life.
Yeah.
Like my whole life has been suicidal ideology at times, right? Like when things get bad enough, right? That's the answer, in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly
And just for our listeners, that's not the answer. There's lots of options for help, and we'll put some links in the show notes. If you're feeling that way, contact one of the links in our show notes, and they can talk you through it and help you through the time that you're going through.
Yeah.
Sorry, man, I just want to throw
thank
that
you,
out
Josh.
there.
That's it's so important because it does feel like the answer in the moment. It feels like your only truth. It feels like you're normal, right? Like that. This is the only thing that could be the answer. And that's
there's always other answers.
That's the truth.
There's
is
always
that
better answers.
It's just in that moment. Right. And so you do get through it. But, I had spent, most of my life on and off feeling like that's an answer, that if everything else continues to go the way it's been going, right. That's always an answer at the end of the road. And so, especially being presented with that in my own mind as a solution when my life externally is the best it's ever been, broke me. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like I really was in this spot where, okay, I've done it. Like I'm the American dream, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a kid or a picket fence or whatever, but like
fence,
I got all the other stuff I'm supposed to have, right? That I grew up.
And I don't feel complete.
That is such a wild thought.
And I feel like I want to die.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And so one night I not even an argument with my girlfriend, but I was feeling miserable and I had asked her to leave and, locked myself in my walk-in closet and just felt miserable. Yeah. And I have, thankfully a lot of great friends and some super incredible supportive people in my life and always have. And so, that if I didn't have all those people in my life, that's the support that's kept me here. And, so I had been talking to this guy that, had been doing this particular modality of therapy called internal family systems, or they call it IFS for short. And, I'd looked into a little bit and the idea is that you have an internal system of parts that comprise you, the entity, right? Mm-hmm. And so rather than, it's a radical shift from the idea of mono mind, I'm Dusty, I am this brain, right? Now you're saying, well, no, really Dusty is like a lot of these little different parts. And these parts, let me say it this way. Have you ever felt like somebody asked you to go out? It's 8:00 on a Friday night. I mean, this is maybe, middle-aged men talk here, but it's 8:00 on a Friday night and you're like, it's 8:00, man.
8:00.
I'm not going out right now, but there's a part of you.
It's like, hell yeah.
That's like, let's go, right?
Let's pregame. Yeah.
And that's, if I would encourage anybody to explore that for yourself.
Yeah. You have different mental states. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've got parts, right? And so I had heard a little bit about this. And so I'm sitting in my closet miserable and had this sort of struck with a thought. Mm-hmm. And it basically, I was feeling very angry and very upset that I had cultivated the world I was supposed to have. And it didn't make me feel okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the floor in the closet and this thought strikes me, who's angry? Out of the blue, that thought came into my head.
Which part of Dusty is angry?
Yeah, but I didn't have that language even then.
Right.
I had sort of heard about this thing, but I didn't know anything about it. And this thought came in, who's angry? And something in that misery and willingness to look for any answer, there was this separation of me in me, it felt like, from the angry part.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was able to like see this part of me that was very angry and felt very hurt. And I intuitively sort of just said, well, why are you angry? And it told me that the world is scary, right? Like the world isn't going to necessarily give you what you need. You got to do stuff right to get what you need. And so it's like constantly worried that I'm not going to do something correctly and then you won't love me.
So we've talked about this in a different context, right? I tell you, like some days at work, like on Monday, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get fired.
Yeah. Yep.
And on Tuesday, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the CEO. Yep. And then Wednesday, I'm going to get fired again. And hopefully on Friday, I end at the CEO so I can have a good weekend. A good weekend. Last weekend, on Friday, I left thinking I was getting fired. So I had a shitty weekend. But I can definitely relate with and you can apply. Some days I think I'm the best dad in the world, the best husband in the world. And some days I'm like, Jesus, I got some work to do.
A roller coaster.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
That's the different parts of me.
And totally. Right. And we have like dad parts and we have work parts and we have, like friend parts. Right. So there's I really I can't say enough about this particular modality. For me, it was really life-changing, but that thought that came in and just said, who's angry and giving me that separation, like immediately enabled me to have compassion
for the part of you that was hurting.
For the part of me that was hurting.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
That's super cool. I've never heard this concept before. So
which
is really
to me is the key. Right. And so, the more I've studied this, and I mean, having grown up the way I did and having been in and out of AA for years and having studied a lot of spiritual, approaches, and I found this and it was like, oh, this explains everything.
So much. Yeah. Right.
Like in a way that's super succinct and really approachable, and it's experiential. It's not like a therapy. It's not talk therapy. It's experiential therapy. So it's very visceral for me, very much in your body. And so that basically was the shift that happened for me. And that was New Year's Eve of 2022. So that was almost a year ago.
Oh, that was not that long ago.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
Okay.
And so, so just in this last year, started like, didn't know I was traumatized. Like I was like, until if you had asked me a year ago what my childhood was like, I'd be like, oh, my mom did her best.
Yeah.
And she did. That's true.
For sure.
That's true.
And that's also an insufficient answer.
Yeah.
Like I was severely damaged by
the situation.
Right. And there's no fault in that. Yeah. That's just the truth of the situation. Right. Like she couldn't do any different because of her upbringing. Right. Yeah, so there's no blame, but that's where I ended up and I didn't know it. And so until this year, right. And then I'm finding out like, oh, okay. So like I really did have a pretty traumatic childhood and I didn't have the support that I needed then. And now I can look at these really maladaptive behaviors that I've generated over the years and actually have compassion for them and know that they come from a place of like me trying to feel safe in the world, right? To feel connected with the rest of humanity. And so all that work basically opened up a connection to the body. And so through IFS, it really a big part of the prompt is like, okay, you maybe, you're feeling the part that feels like it's going to get fired, right?
Yeah.
Right. Where do you feel that in your body is the prompt, right? That's the question.
Yeah.
And so you get quiet and still.
I know exactly where I feel it.
And you say, okay, I feel it right here. Right. And so, well, you can actually, and the idea in IFS is that you could just talk to that part. So you can ask that part like, hey, part, why do you feel like you're going to get fired? What, and my experience is when you're still, it will talk back to you. It will tell you what it needs and what it feels like. And so that's how I figured out like, oh, I was really traumatized as a kid because I didn't have that connection that I needed. Because when I would ask those parts, those questions, I would get clear answers of times when I didn't have the kind of support that I needed. I have this memory of maybe when I was 3 years old, my mom had a party at our house, or our apartment, and she passed out in the party and the neighbors put me to bed. She had passed out in my bed and the neighbors put me to bed in her bed.
Yeah.
And I remember going into my room to shake her, to like wake her up, and she wouldn't wake up.
Yeah.
And then I, went back into her bedroom, and I remember like the bed was huge and scary, and the neighbors weren't nice. And, it was a very unsettling experience. Right. And like, that's continued to like be in my like, why would I have to keep living through that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, because it hasn't been processed by my body. So that memory lived in my body for years and years and years, decades.
Yeah.
Right. Because I never could process it. Nobody at that time who was emotionally regulated came to me and said, "Hey, I realize this is a really terrible situation. Your mom is really sick and she's got, I know this isn't ideal, but let me be with you and stay with you while you're crying." Like, I didn't have that.
Right.
And that's, again, there's no blame on that, but that's just the situation. And so you end up with this stuff stored in your body is effectively where it comes. And then you have things like IBS and arthritis and, all these
ailments that manifest based on the
chronic illnesses, right, are mostly all based in trauma. And so as soon as I started the trauma work, I had been IBS, OCD,
irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah. OCD, anxiety, depression, PTSD, right? Like you go on and on. Yeah. Arthritis, right? All of them. Degenerative disc disease, gluten intolerance, not celiac, but couldn't eat gluten without feeling super sick. I started trauma healing this year, and within like 3 or 4 months, I stopped wearing glasses. My vision wasn't terrible, but it like got way better.
No kidding.
Yes. Could start eating gluten. Hadn't been able to eat spicy things my entire life. Like, I used to make the joke that mild sauce at Taco Bell was too spicy, or like ketchup is too spicy.
Yeah, we live in Tucson, by the way.
Yeah. So. Right. We live in Tucson. Yeah. I've been here 20 years. Yeah. So, and that's, now I can eat that stuff. Like, it just doesn't.
In a year?
Doesn't aggravate my system. Now I want to like lay this on. I'm not well, right? Like, I'm still, and we had, I'm still healing. Right. And we had this conversation earlier, right? We've got these mic stands.
Yep.
And we're navigating around the mic stands, and, I lean towards the mic.
Yeah.
Rather than articulating the articulated arm towards my mouth.
I'm like, "Hey, Dusty, you can move that towards you to be comfortable." And you're like,
no, I can't be comfortable. Right. Like, I need to accommodate everybody else. Right. That's the mindset. Is what you've done
your whole life.
My whole life. Right.
Yeah. So 40 plus years.
So there's a lot of that, and it still comes up all the time. And there's still definitely times where it feels completely overwhelming. In the last few months, I lost a girlfriend, the girlfriend that I had last year. We broke up and she moved out. My dog died.
Oh, Jesus.
14 and, old and whatever, but you still got to put him down.
Yeah, it's still your dog, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then I bought my first condo ever last year, and I bought a new air conditioner this year because I didn't want it to go out in the middle of summer. Mm-hmm. And so I got one installed in like May. And then in August, it died.
That's a big deal in Tucson, by the way, for y'all. It's like 100. This year was especially gnarly.
Super hot.
How did you buy a brand new air conditioning? It died in like 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Hopefully it's under warranty, but yeah.
It was. Yeah, I didn't have to pay anything. But
it's still a pain in the
did
ass.
have to have like 4 or 5 days with a like window air conditioner and like block rooms off, which it's...
First world problems.
My problems are very minor these days,
but
comparatively,
it's still 110 degrees outside.
But like all these things going on in the last few weeks, and and I get to like be in this space where it's really tough, and also I don't want to die. Like, I'm grateful for the experiences I'm having and getting to like be present with them, and actually live through the grief of the dog passing and that kind of stuff. And so it's just a very, this whole year has been such a different experience with life, and cycling has been so key in that, because I've gotten to change my relationship with my bike in the last year. And even when I switched to a 22, a big motivation was also, in addition to the reducing pain, was to literally slow me down.
Yeah.
It was actually a method to make things harder so I wouldn't want to do as many tricks, because tricks are harder on a 22.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting hurt. Right.
Yeah.
So this year even this year I've still gotten hurt.
Yeah.
But
I can see it on your thumb right now.
Yeah. It got a lot better, my relationship with the bike. So I'm not like throwing myself on the ground like I used to. Like, I'll go to the skate park, right? I'm going every week and I'll go have a game of bike with the kids, and they're doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, oh, I got to do the crazy stuff because they're doing it and I can't lose the game of bike. Right. Like I'm 40 something years old and like smashing myself on the ground, which is fine if my body felt okay. But with my history, my body doesn't feel okay getting thrown on the ground. Right. So
just for our listeners, bike is kind of like horse. If you're playing basketball, like you do a trick. If the other guy can't do the trick, he gets a letter and the first one to spell the word bike loses. So
exactly. Thank you so much for,
Yeah, but when you're at the park though, you are riding big, and there's consequences for those big tricks.
Sure.
So you're still like OG, I guess, and still throwing down these awesome tricks. So that's cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Where is your head now? If you've, back to the walk-in closet locked in, you seem like you are in a great place, mind and body. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but in a better place, like because of this.
I mean, you're speaking openly to try to help
Yeah.
others on this podcast right now. So that's got to say something.
Yeah. I mean, I really am in the best spot I've ever been in my life by leaps and bounds. Like
That's
all the other, I mean, I've done talk therapy since I was 13 years old, and I've done, all other modalities of like different kinds of recovery and addiction stuff and all sorts of different stuff. And all of it helped, and all of it gave me additional pieces of information.
Oh, sure,
right.
yeah.
But none of it addressed the trauma recovery, the core root stuff that I really needed to address. And it was IFS, internal family systems, and somatics, which is really just the, accessing the body. So today my routine is, I have an IFS therapist that I see regularly. I have a somatic experiencing practitioner that I see regularly that helps me process stuff through the body. And then I do yin 4 times a week.
Yin yoga.
Yeah. Yin is the most incredible thing. If your body is sore or achy or tight, yin is just incredible.
And this is long form where you hold, I do yin sometimes. It's where you hold the poses for 3-4 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
And by the way, Will Bissell, that's the type of yoga that he's doing right now.
Okay.
Yep.
He's teaching.
Yep. He's teaching yin. I just saw him this weekend, and he said he's still teaching classes about once a month.
Good for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So those 3 things you mentioned, the IFS,
Yep.
somatics, and yin yoga.
Yeah. And that's like, after a year of doing these different things, I also did earlier this year, I did ketamine therapy. Like I've done a number of different modalities to like try to boost the processes of going along.
But you have to put the work in. I mean, this is not just sitting there, but you take the initiative and to do this work in therapy.
Right. And that's what's generated this thing that works for me now, right? Like through a year of on and off and trying different things, like these are the things that work. And it's not, I shouldn't say a year, right? It's been like 30 years of trying to figure out what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And not knowing and going to doctors and them saying like, oh, you're anxious, you're depressed, here, take this pill. Right.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who, those are excellent points. Over 30 years, you've developed that, and now just recently kind of
honed it in. Yeah.
So going back to, I have a friend who called just out of the blue, and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Good." He's like, "Okay, just checking in," and it's his brothers checking on other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it was really special of him. He took time to, and he's like, "Yeah, I do this every Friday. I call 5 people, make sure they're good."
Dude, that's awesome.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And so do you have any thoughts for people who might be sitting in a walk-in closet locked in? What's a first step they could take?
Yeah, it's tough because everybody's in a different spot, right? Okay. So I spent years in groups and recovery programs and therapy and stuff like that. So it was relatively easy for me to go out of the closet and like start to get connected with people. For a lot of people, because I had intermittent care when I was a kid, and so sometimes people were safe and sometimes they weren't. There are people who grew up where people weren't safe.
Never had safe.
Right.
Yeah. Good point. Right. And so like what worked for me was working on building community. You know, I had this girlfriend and my job, and that was my whole life. Right. And I wasn't connecting to, I mean, I was
the
riding.
Job was a stressor.
Well, sure. But I mean, in terms of community, okay. Right. And so, you know, we talked about this before the show. Yeah. A little bit about tribe and how important that is. And that's the truth, right? So other than movement, right? Yep. Like tribe is the other thing that our systems really crave. All right. And so creating community was a key piece for me. So getting out of that closet and getting connected with, in my case, my buddies, who I'd, you know, talked to on and off for years, and then getting back into, group spaces where those kinds of things were being talked about, was what was key. And that's what I would tell anybody, is that there are group spaces where people are talking about these things.
They're not alone.
All over the place. Go on Instagram, look up trauma recovery. Like there's thousands of accounts of people talking about this and sharing. When I started to look at that stuff and see how much of my own experience they were sharing, and they were like telling my stories, you know,
you could relate.
Yeah. And so you could really tell that they had gone through the same things. And so it's out there, and more people are talking about it. And there's just so much support, and that whole community knows that community is what's needed. So they're so welcoming. That's and I'm on Instagram, Dusty Horton. It's a public account.
We'll put the link, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Like if anybody's got questions, I'm happy.
So they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
IG? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Dusty,
Thank you. That's
Dusty,
great.
this has been awesome, man. You've like opened my eyes. I'm gonna, you know, for sure, somatics and IFS. Thinking about the different parts of me. I've never heard that concept before. So that's something that
fascinating.
You know, maybe I can get through those days where I'm the boss. I'm going to get fired.
Or going to get fired.
I really appreciate you. You know, so we started out this podcast talking bikes and laughing and joking and talking mental health and healing and some real serious topics. I really appreciate you sharing your story. You know, if there's one person that listens to this, that it like makes a difference for them, this was absolutely worth it. Yeah. Right. If we were able to impact, or if you were able to impact one life, that's a huge deal. So thank you for being vulnerable and open with us and sharing this part. I think that's awesome. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I feel the same way. The sentiment is shared for sure. There's been so many people that have helped me through the years at different crucial points. And so, you know, if this happens to be a crucial point for somebody and they hear the right thing, I'm super grateful. The only thing I want to share is listen to your body. So your body's constantly telling you stuff. You got to ache. You got to
don't ignore
irritation. Yeah. Pay attention to it. Listen to it. That's cool. And I just want to thank all the people that have supported me over the years. DK for years and recently Ditto. Yeah. And Premises Park. I mean, I just can't say enough about Ian and Premises. I was fortunate enough to know Ian before Premises got created. Yeah. And then getting to watch them go through 3 different buildings and the different versions within each building. And it's like so amazing. And there's a different alternate reality where I have run skate parks. Like that's been sort of this idea of like, I always want to run a skate park, but Ian's been doing it in Premises for so long. And when you look at the numbers, like it just doesn't make any sense financially. So like I never went too far down the path, but I'm so grateful that there is a skate park, an indoor wooden skate park that you can go when the weather's terrible and the ramps can change because they're wood. And so it's always fresh. They're always building new stuff. Ian is just so incredible with kids. You just literally leave your kids there for the whole summer day and they're well taken care of. Like all of his staff is always incredible with kids. So they're just, I can't say enough about him and how much he does for the community. Like he works a full-time job and also does premises full time.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I don't know how he does it.
Puts on events. He does like all the maintenance on the building. Like he's so mechanical, like just so incredible. Can't say enough good stuff about him.
Shout out to Ian. And if you haven't been, go
to premises.
Yep. Talk to Ian.
Come hang out with me on Saturdays.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, again, thank you so much for your openness, your vulnerability, for spending some time with us. It has been super educational and fun. I've learned a ton and I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Grateful to be here. Thanks, Josh.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Hello again, audience. We hope that you found Dusty's mental health journey as inspiring as we did. Thanks for listening. And again, as a reminder, suicide is not the answer. Please, if you need help, reach out by texting or calling the National Crisis Lifeline at 988. Text or call the National Crisis Lifeline at 988. That number will work inside the United States. So thanks a lot for listening. Get help if you need it. And until next time, this is Josh signing off.